Okay, good morning, I guess, right? 11:30, that's morning. Good morning. Thank you guys so much for coming to my presentation. I am super excited to be here, so I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. Today we are talking about why your business needs a Customer Identity and Access Management Product Manager, or a CIAM Product Manager. So that's somebody who's focused on your customers, right? The people logging into your application, people registering with your application, not your workforce, not your employees. Another caveat is it's completely dependent on your product team size, your organization's maturity. So if you have a product team of 3-4 people, no, I'm not recommending that you have a dedicated IAM product manager. But the points of this presentation are still going to stand for companies of all sizes. All right, let's do a quick little about me. My mother's maiden name was Malfoy. The make and model of my first car was a Ford Anglia. My high school mascot was a hippogriff. My social security number is, just kidding. I hope everyone here knows that knowledge-based authentication, especially security questions, is insecure, annoying, many times doesn't work. We talked about it this morning in the keynote. That's a different talk for a different day, maybe happening somewhere else in this hotel right now. All right, a real little about me. I went to Texas A&M. I graduated with a degree in mathematics and professional writing. I live in Allen, Texas, which is in the DFW area, go Cowboys, with my husband and 4 children. So my first product job was at a cybersecurity company in Richardson, Texas called Armor Defense. And that's where I really learned that not only do I love product, not only do I love security, but I really found a passion for a subset of security within identity. I loved that it humanized the world of cybersecurity. From there, I transitioned to Ultimate Software. They're now UKG. They recently merged with another company, Kronos, so I may use those interchangeably. And I was their CIAM product manager for a little over 3 years, and then I transitioned to Ping about 6-7 months ago. All right, let's do a quick level set on what is a product manager and what are we not. We're not program managers and we're not project managers. Program and project managers are vital to delivering software on time, but they don't define the mission. They don't define the strategic vision. They're really there to help with coordination of those strategic initiatives. They're there to help make sure that product managers like myself and other roles actually do our jobs so that we do deliver our software on time, and I'm super grateful for them. We're not backlog managers. So sure, a small portion of our job is going to be that backlog management, but a lot of companies actually have different roles that'll fill this. So something like a business analyst or a product owner, or sometimes even an engineering team lead. Because when a product manager spends too much time doing these tactical activities, like backlog management, like spending time in Jira, we don't have the necessary time to go out and talk to our customers, understand our market. So then that brings us to, what is a product manager? We do the necessary research to understand the problem that we're trying to solve in the market related to the product that we own. So part of that is being the voice of the customer, going out talking to customers. At UKG, my product was AltiPro. It's an HR management tool, something like a Workday or an ADP. So my use case was the B2B use case. So not only did I have the users coming into registering, logging into my application, but also we had HR administrators who were living and breathing AltiPro all day, every day. We also had a product management tool where our customers could go in, submit feature requests, a lot of complaints, a lot of suggestions, and upvote and downvote the ones that they agreed with and disagreed with. The most upvoted identity-related feature was, we need a better way to manage roles and permissions. I thought, great, okay, that's a job I can do, I can tackle this. When I looked at our existing roles and permissions, and I thought, oh my goodness, how can anyone use this? It felt extremely unusable to me, so I'm sure our administrators felt the same way. There are hundreds of rows of permissions, sometimes nested 6 layers deep. So I worked with my UX designer. She and I really simplified this. We had a lot of out-of-the-box roles. We still kept some of that customization, but we made it a much better user experience. So I went out, talked to my customers, put this prototype in front of them that we had worked on for months. I learned I made a huge mistake. Our customers actually loved the complexity of our old solution, but they needed a better way to manage it. They wanted a better user experience, they wanted a lot of the redundancies removed, but they didn't want that complexity removed. They craved it, they needed it for their business and their day-to-day needs. So I learned a lesson there. You have to go out and talk to your customers first. You can't just assume that you know what they mean with 1-2 sentences in a product management tool. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of time with flawed assumptions. I iterated on that years, really, before I got it right. But I learned you had to go out and talk to your customers. We also do a lot of competitive analysis, a lot of gap analyses. So that's going out, understanding where your competition is, and figuring out what the gaps are between where you are and where your competition is. We also do a lot of market research, so understanding the gaps between where you are, where the market's going, where the market is trending. But those gap analyses, they don't turn into a backlog, right? Because you're not always wanting to just follow your competition. That's not a good business model. But it's necessary to understand what those gaps are so that you as a business and as a team can decide, okay, this is where we can invest our time, our resources. These are the gaps we want to fill. This is how we can differentiate ourselves. That's a big portion of the job as well. And then also a lot of stakeholder management. So that's going out and talking to all of you guys, right? At UKG, I included security in every single major decision I made because security identity makes sense. But also customer experience, sales, marketing, software architecture, solution architecture, engineering. Anyone who had a say in the product was involved in that, and I had to make sure that their voices were heard because every business unit is unique and has unique perspectives. And it's the product manager's responsibility to understand those perspectives and make sure that they're taken account when the product is getting built out. We then, after doing that research, product must define a mission and a strategic vision. We take all of that customer data, that market research, that product knowledge, and we relate it back to our company's core competencies and our company's business priorities. That's not an easy task, right? Because you have to understand all 4 of those things, your customer, your market, your product, but also your business. The strategy is then broken down into a roadmap for engineering to execute on, and that's where some of that backlog management is going to come in. Because you can do all of this market research, you can do all of this analysis, and that's all great, talking to customers, but if you can't turn it into a reality, you can't actually implement it and put it into your product, it's kind of useless. So you have to make sure that you're spending just as much time and just as much effort on actually delivering that product. All right, so that was just a quick level set of what a product manager is to make sure we're working off the same definition. So with that definition, do you think that your company needs a CIAM product manager? Let's do a quick double click into that last slide, particularly the strategy and the vision. Everyone knows that identity is a necessary requirement for any app, right? You have to be able to authenticate your users. You have to be able to make sure they're only on the right access level. But does it need a strategy? Does it need a full vision? Identity can truly be a differentiator in your product if done right, and it can be the reason you lose a customer if not. So the clear answer to my question is yes. Identity is the core component of your security strategy, but also your customer strategy. And it is ever changing. We saw that with COVID, right? COVID increased the need for remote work and identity-driven security. Your customer is the human, is the identity that's accessing your application. So if you care about your customer, you need to have a phenomenal experience for them, and you need somebody dedicated to doing it. Your customer expects a personalized, frictionless experience from beginning to end of your application, and your identity solution is what can provide that for them. And there are decisions that need to be made with a product in mind, with a customer in mind. So that's things like, do we require MFA? If we do, what methods do we allow? If we start disallowing SMS because it's insecure, what does that mean for the customers who use it today? Should we add adaptive risk authentication? If we do, how strict do we want it to be? What attributes do we care about? In that B2B use case that I spoke about before, admins expect the exact level of flexibility and customization and policy management and role management, but it's completely dependent on your customer base. right? I can't answer any of those questions for you because I don't know your customers. I haven't done all that research. You need somebody dedicated to going out and getting those answers. But do your customers even care about identity? Thinking about identity strategically flips it into a differentiating product feature that can increase conversion rate and customer engagement. Whether your customers know it or not, they care about identity, right? They certainly care that they don't get their identity stolen. They're hearing about these breaches every day, every week. That's forefront of their mind. But they also care about an easy, frictionless way and experience into your application. So if DoorDash takes 15 seconds to log in, Uber Eats is instantaneous. I'm going to go with Uber Eats, especially if the prices are about the same, right? Or if your shopping cart, when you're shopping, and it requires a complex registration to buy something off of Amazon, well, you're going to end up with a lot of abandoned shopping carts. Or if your forgot password experience, like in the example I gave before, if it's a complicated experience and it requires, your password policy requires 4 numbers, a Chinese character, a Bitmoji, it's only going to get more frustrating for the users. And frustration at the entry point to your application is not a good look for the rest of their experience there. There's no right answer to any of these questions. These decisions are completely based on your customers. So an identity product manager is going to engage with your customers, learn about their security requirements, understand how they use things like role management, watch them engage with your product, and then ensure that your identity product meets all of their needs. You need somebody dedicated to making the customer experience phenomenal because you lose out on customers, you lose out on revenue if they don't have a consistently positive identity experience. So there's plenty of people in your company that understand the newest identity technologies at a high level, right? CISOs certainly know that they need to implement a zero trust network. They know that lifecycle management is going to greatly reduce friction in your company. They certainly know that passwords are a thing of the past, right? And that we're moving towards this passwordless future. But what does it take to make those a reality? What does it take to implement them in the complex, legacy, sticky environments that already exist in your organization today? Identity touches everything. So if you want to implement lifecycle management or complex processes like identity governance, it requires a program that touches every business unit in your organization. And it requires a dedicated product manager to build out that roadmap so that engineering can actually iterate on it and achieve it. A product manager will take these buzzwords, understand how they relate back to the business problems and their customer base, and turn them into reality. We do that by researching the problem that we're solving for our customers. And then we talk to our customers, right? And we talk to engineering. We figure out the best way to achieve this in the most efficient way with the latest and greatest technologies. It's also the product manager's responsibility to guide your users to these new technologies, like passwordless, when they're going to be a little bit resistant. At UKG, one of the most complained about features was our forgot password experience. So I thought, okay, how can I make this a better experience for them? I decided to remove all of the complex password policies like we talked about before, the special characters, the making sure you have different cases, and along with having to reset your password every 45 days in favor of one, length, so moving toward the passphrase. So before doing all of the work, like I did before, lesson was learned, I went out and I talked to my customers, and I just had this simple screen of a mock-up of what this would look like. I just watched them engage with it. Didn't talk to them, I just wanted to see what would happen. But what I learned was they loved the idea of not having these password policies. Who wouldn't, right? They love the idea of having a phrase that was that they can just make sure is the right length. So something like, I love my son Fox, even when he's being stubborn. But the word passphrase, it really confused them. Actually, the majority of the customers I talked to thought that passphrase meant security question. And they they were like, why would I enter a security question right here? This doesn't make any sense. So I thought, okay, cool, great feedback, we love it, but we need to do something with the user experience. All I did was put a quick little info blurb next to it where they could roll over. I think it was one sentence of what a passphrase is, how it's more secure, and then they could link out to learn, if they wanted to learn more about it. Made all the difference. I put it in front of customers, they rolled over that info blurb, entered their passphrase, never had to do it again, and went on with their day. And they loved it. Those types of experiences are always changing because technology is always changing, identity is always changing. So you need somebody who can go in there and make those changes, make those iterations to make it a better user experience for your customers. You need somebody who has time and resources who can do it. So these decisions, sure, they're getting made today at your company somewhere, right? Sometimes it's a security team. Security team is great, but their main job is to build a secure product. And as everyone here probably knows, that many times is at odds with the customer experience. Some smaller companies, they just have the engineering teams do it, with the business requirement being something like, we need a login page, we need roles and permissions. Okay, well that can mean any number of things. They don't have the business context that a product manager has. So they may not know you need things like, maybe you need single logout between multiple applications. They may not know that they need to salt and hash all of the passwords. But Identity Product Manager will go out and make sure those requirements are met and detailed out. And a lot of times actually what I'm seeing is that there's a platform product manager where they own the entire platform. So that includes identity and access management, but it also includes everything else that you don't sell, but that is necessary to run your product. So search, notifications, workflow, a lot of other very important things. A platform product manager is great, but at UKG I had a 5 to 10 year roadmap just for identity. I had peers who had 5 to 10 year roadmaps for API strategies, data platform strategies, all these other platform product management areas. A single platform product manager, they simply don't have the time to dedicate to security, which is equivalent to identity, that every company needs. There's not enough time in the day. Finally, it is imperative that you have someone who can keep up with the constantly evolving industry news related to identity. Just a couple months ago, NIST and CISA, or the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, came out with an article about the SolarWinds attack. They said, we can talk about our network defenses. We can talk about the importance of firewall and network segmentation. But really, identity has become the boundary, and we need to start readdressing our infrastructures in that matter. They said if there's one thing that you can take from the SolarWinds attack, that we as an industry need to take from the SolarWinds attack, it's that identity is everything now. It is a product manager's responsibility to keep up with this constant evolving news and to make sure that IAM remains a priority in your company. Your security team probably saw this exact article that I took this quote from. But they don't have the resources and the network to drive change in the product and in the roadmap and to pivot and prioritize based on this industry news. You need a dedicated product manager who can do that. All right, so to wrap up, without an identity and access management product manager, you run the risk of an insecure product with a poor user experience that will fall behind in industry advances. So you think your business could benefit from a IAM product manager? Think about the problems that are not being solved today because you don't have one. Remember that your customers are your identities. They are the humans that are accessing your application. So if you care about a positive experience for your customers, which hopefully you do, you need somebody dedicated to making that experience phenomenal. It'll also drive revenue because you'll retain existing customers by delighting them with this great user experience, and then they're just going to buy more products from you. Also share out these slides and recordings if you guys need inspiration. All right, so I tried to make it about 20 minutes. I don't know how long it was, but I will break here for some questions. If you have any. It's okay if not.